All right, I will bring the April 5th, 2022 Board of Education meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Kate Thomas.
Here.
Gabe Doney.
Here.
Jim Hansen.
Present.
Amy Plisky is absent with notice, as is Clay Colomb. Deb Baker.
Here.
Troy Carr is absent with notice. Abby Rattan.
Here.
Hayden Bentz.
Here.
Colton Porter.
Here.
All right, we have Pastor Moore from Journey Church for the invocation, please.
Turn that on. All right. Let's pray, friends. Dear Lord, tonight we come before you with a simple prayer of faith. Lord, I ask that you'd be with our president and our staff and our entire council tonight, our superintendent and staff, and these bright young people that are here, and all of us that are here for this meeting present. Lord, we pray that you would give them peace and that you'd give them confidence and strength to know tonight that you have placed them where they are. Because, Lord, all authority is given by you, and you've placed anyone in authority in their position. And so, Lord, we thank you for them and their service, and we ask that you'd give them wisdom and peace and blessing tonight to make godly decisions for our children. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, I do need a motion for the approval with a motion to vote on 4 minutes and extend the time just past the 30 minutes allowance for the persons wishing to address the board.
Motion.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, now I need an approval of the agenda. Motion.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we are on to sharing the success. Go ahead, Dr. Simon.
Verse the order tonight of the sharing the success items. So I will start with the South Dakota Week of Work proclamation. Whereas April 11th through 15th, 2022 has been designated the South Dakota Week of Work by Governor Kristi Noem, and whereas the South Dakota Week of Work allows RCAS an opportunity to highlight career-connected, work-based, and service learning opportunities, and whereas participating students will have expanded access to virtual industry panels and business videos, and whereas the Week of Work guides students, engages local businesses, and introduces employers to their future workforce, and whereas our district recognizes the importance of career-connected learning opportunities for student preparedness for college, career, and life, and whereas over 280 partnerships allow for student exposure to relevant learning opportunities. Therefore, I, Dr. Lori Simon, do hereby declare April 11th through the 15th, 2022, in the Rapid City area schools as South Dakota Week of Work. Not easy to say week of work that many times. All right, well, tonight is a special night because with us we have some board-certified teachers and counselors, and I'm going to ask them to come and join me at the podium, please. National Board Certification is the most respected professional certification that's available in education. National Board certified teachers and school counselors have developed and demonstrated the advanced knowledge, skills, and practices required for an outstanding educator or counselor. This year, we have 3 teachers and 1 school counselor who achieved National Board certification. Only 2 of them can be with us tonight, but I will read all 4. First is Sherry Horan from Rapid City High School, and she achieved her school counselor board certification. And with us tonight, we have Brittany Condon from Robbinsdale Elementary, and she received National Board certification for outstanding teaching. Renewing her National Board teaching certification is Robbinsdale Elementary Principal Bethany Herbold-Kinney, and she's not able to be with us tonight. And finally, from Southwest Middle School, Crystal McMacken for outstanding teaching. Will you please join me in recognizing and congratulating these outstanding staff members? And board, would you please join us in front of the dais, and we'll ask you to join us too so we can get a picture. Thank you.
All right, we are at persons wishing to address the board, and we have 4 minutes for each person this time. And the first up is Shay Beardsley.
Hi. I am a senior at Stevens High School. My name is Shay Beardsley. And a couple of people gave me letters to read to the board. All right. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't want to take up anyone else's time, but some highlights. As a Christian student, I find that not only this, as in the opening prayer, not only unconstitutional, but also not kind to those who don't practice the religion, from a Stevens senior. I believe that Christianity is about being kind to all and being accepting. Forcing religion onto anybody goes against both of these things, a Stevens sophomore. Even if this prayer is optional, the U.S. Supreme Court case Engel versus Vitale, 1962, found that it is unconstitutional to encourage the resuscitation of a prayer in public schools and school-associated events. As the governing body for the district, it is your responsibility to make sure that all students feel accepted, not only the students who practice religion. Respectfully, a Stevens Senior. As the governing body of the district, it is your just read that one. And then I just wanted to inform everybody here that almost all of these people can vote in the next election. That's it.
Thank you. Dr. Eldon Rice.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eldon Rice, and I was informed today by a trusted source that in a district very close to here, a student was suspended for calling a transgender student the wrong name. Now, she'd known this transgender student for many years, and she recently switched her name. So she called her by the name that she grew up with her by. So this is interesting, and these are the kinds of questions I've asked the board to address and get on record. First of all, that's a very severe penalty. Now, here's the problem that's going to happen. If you say, well, she might say, well, I forgot, and how many times is that going to happen before some discipline happens? I get it. But what I'd like you to do is get a fair disciplinary ladder, or whatever you call it, matrix, if that's the word you use, and tell us what you're going to do about this, because there are people that will leave the district if it's just silly and too strict. And I might say that it's quite one-sided. I had a nice conversation with someone, I don't remember who it was, about we don't have a liberal bent in the school or agenda. I don't see that happening. Let me give you an example. Is it a pastor, is that correct? Gave a prayer, and I might mention, I'm the bishop in my church, in my congregation. We invoke the name of Jesus Christ in our most sacred religious services, and we're very careful about how we use his name. Now, I often hear outside church, in public, the name of the Lord taken in vain, which is blasphemy. Now, I'm going to ask you, because this is a question that was asked in our court case, Rice versus Santa Rosa City Schools. What should be done for students who, say, use the wrong name versus blaspheme, what we're going to call blasphemy or take the Lord's name in vain? Are we getting the same respect? And I'll ask the students, is it as offensive to you when you hear the Lord's name taken in vain as it is to use a inappropriate slur about LGBT or any other, or racism or anything like that? Does that bother you? Because if not, this is why we feel like the school is liberal and doesn't protect the rights of religious people. You will have religious people leaving if you don't get some clear rules about how much you can punish somebody for making a simple mistake. And guess what? We live in a society where everybody is going to have to live with a certain amount of disagreement. You know, you're not going to change our minds about whether we believe that your gender was changed or not, or whether gay marriage is okay. And that's how we have to live. So my young friend who talked about no prayer, you don't have to listen. You can go on your phone or you can walk. No one's telling you what religion to join or to even worship. So religion has made a wonderful contribution. We're not perfect, correct? None of us are perfect. We're not claiming to be. But we are willing to be tolerant and respectful. You need to get it in policy. This is a serious problem. In California, the teachers were telling us all the time, we have no gay agenda. And conservative teachers were telling me that's not true. We are told to give a pro-gay message in PE and math and every subject they were told. Eventually, they came out in support of defeating gay marriage, which is Prop 8 many years ago, and then they just dropped the facade. Now, you can do whatever you want, but this is why we think the teachers' union is liberal and that we're not getting a fair shake in the school system. And this is why you're here, the board. You know, I don't like it when you're courting the teachers' union's vote and support, because you're there to represent. They have a very powerful union. Look what happened with the whole mask thing. They took the liberal position on this, and I told you a year or two ago, steer right. Remember that? Some of you are here. Veer right.
It's time.
Okay. So, and this is what's happened. So thank you for listening. Thanks.
Thank you. Florence Thompson.
Thank you, Board. My name is Florence Thompson. I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education, and I'm also a retired school psychologist with over 40 years' experience as a psychologist in the schools. I'd like to talk about the meeting last night, but since the topic came up about prayer in schools, I want to point out again, as I pointed out before to this board, that the year before last, our state legislature adopted a resolution that reemphasizes the right to pray in public schools. It is our constitutional right to pray in public schools. Students can pray, staff can pray, and I think you could refer to that resolution, and it would clarify a lot of a lot of this, and that was based on court cases, and it was also at the federal level. So it came through the Trump administration, and it was a national outreach to make sure that people understood we do have a right to pray in public schools. So thank you for that. And then I want to talk about the meeting last night. I was very impressed. The two people that presented from the school in near Colorado Springs was very impressive. I think they're getting really good responses. They're saving a lot of money. And what I liked was it changes the basic structure. It changes it from top-down control to more of a collaborative control, and lets people, I will say at the bottom, I don't mean to say they're at the bottom, but where the rubber hits the road, where the teachers and the students interact, and the principals, it gives them more decision-making power, it gives them more authority, and it gives them more freedom to actually do what they went to school to do. And I know we've lost a lot of teachers over the years. I've seen many good teachers just leave in frustration because they don't have the ability they don't have the time to teach, they don't have the freedom to teach, they are handcuffed by the regulations, by the data, by the constant testing and all the constant accountability and scheduling and just the micromanagement that comes down from the top. And that's what this kind of model eliminates. So you have good management, but it's down at the level where the rubber meets the road. And that's what I think we should be all about, is that actual learning that takes place between the teacher and the student. So anyway, I'd just like to point out again, and I'm going to point this out at every meeting because it's not known. The Rapid City Public School District has lost 1,000 students since this particular superintendent came here. And people have left because they don't like what's being offered, and they're not bringing their kids back. They went out after COVID, and some of them went out before COVID. But they found out they can do better for their kids somewhere else, and they're sacrificing to keep their kids out of this system. So I think you need to look at that very, very carefully, because there's a large segment of this population that is not happy with what's being offered. So thank you.
Thank you. Mary Hahn.
Thank you. I'm going to spin a little 180 there and just say that I'm extremely happy with what I've received from Dr. Simon over the years in the public school district here. I'm speaking tonight with immense gratitude to Dr. Simon and Dr. Big Eagle for their strong leadership in creating the Lakota Immersion Program at Canyon Lake Elementary. My kindergartner is enrolled in the Lakota Immersion Program and has experienced tremendous growth over the course of the year. Annie loves her teachers, Lexi Adrian Primo, and the classroom assistant Morgan. And she brings home incredible amounts of knowledge each day. She loves teaching the language to her little sister. She's also made tremendous leaps in her confidence and her understanding in her culture class, which is led by Mr. Sequoia Crosswhite. According to conclusive studies, her growth and success are unsurprising. Research proves that learning a second language early on boosts problem solving, critical thinking, and listening skills, in addition to improving memory, creativity, concentration, and the ability to multitask. Bilingual children also have improved reading, writing, and math skills, and they score higher on standardized tests. I love the culture and the language of the Lakota people who own this land, and I have such appreciation for the Indigenous educators who are making this program into such a remarkable success. I hope to see the program expand to every school in the district in upcoming years. It's far easier for young people to learn language in the first years of their schooling rather than trying to add it during the high school years. While studies certainly show that second language acquisition at an early age increases our children's academic success, I also believe the Lakota Immersion Program provides a much-needed avenue into conversation around the long-suppressed history of this great Sioux Nation territory. Kindergarteners may not be learning all about history yet, but I believe that bringing real, often uncomfortable history to our students is vital. Looking at historical studies, censuses, and death records, it's easy to see that policies undertaken by the U.S. government, including the state of South Dakota, have led to millions of Indigenous deaths. The U.S. government refuses to honor the Fort Laramie Treaty, which was upheld by the Supreme Court and is the basis for the Land Back movement. This school board, indeed this whole city, operates on Indigenous land. So in reality, it should be us, the settlers, working hard to implement an English language immersion program into Lakota schools here, not the other way around. This is why I hold leaders like Dr. Big Eagle in such high regard, as she works patiently and persistently to facilitate success and the education of all students. I believe the Lakota Immersion Program will provide an important framework for all of our district students as it continues to grow. The program teaches age-appropriate kinship, confidence, culture, language, and lessons in self-love. It also fosters the creativity and curiosity of each student, regardless of their background, race, religion, or gender. I believe it is an invaluable asset for all of our students to learn more of the Indigenous knowledge, values, and traditions that have been leading the way on this continent for thousands of years. Many people believe it's uncomfortable to talk about the violence and oppression in U.S. history, and it's even harder to talk about the erasure and racism that are still prevalent in Rapid City, a place that we all love so dearly. However, it's only by viewing these things through an accurate lens that we can acknowledge mistakes, make reparations, and one day hope to become the type of human being that my child is learning to become. Inclusive, honest, caring, culturally aware, and well-educated. I'm so thankful for everything she is learning as a result of the Indigenous teachers who are part of her daily life through the Lakota Immersion Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Birkland?
Thank you. I first want to start off by saying congratulations to Crystal McMacken. I was lucky enough to be one of her students back in 8th grade and then call her a colleague when I worked in the district as well. So congratulations there. I did want to, before I dive into my main idea here, I did want to mention hopefully everything on the rest of the agenda looks great. I'm glad we're moving towards some more forward-thinking grading policies. And I do want to, once again, as always, draw attention to our employee issue. If we want to keep our students in person, as we all do, we need to make sure that we have teachers and staff to work with them. So speaking of staff, I want to talk about the meeting last night and our superintendent. I'm glad that we're looking at other things. It was a great presentation. I'm totally open for change. But as with any change, whether CEO or a superintendent, change must be carefully considered. So some concerns I have and some concerns I've heard from the community are the cost specifics. Saving money sounds great, but as we all know with our products that we buy, sometimes the great value is not worth it. So what does that look like in our district? What current staff would we use? What cuts would we make? And what are the implications for our schools and our students? Another kind of inaccuracy, I would call it, that I want to bring to light, that we have this top-down approach, and there are some things that are top-down, but I never felt like our superintendent or anyone else was ruling with an iron fist. I'm not here to talk about me tonight, but most of the reasons that I resigned had nothing to do with upper administration. It was more school board policy. So we already have a lot of teacher control, but we do need that consistency. I served on a curriculum team to choose our curriculum. That was one example they gave last night. We are doing that. And I think upper admin are already working together. I don't see what happens behind the scenes, but I have never got that feeling that our superintendent rules with an iron fist. And I hope that in your next choice, that same thing is true. And then the last big concern that I have, and I've heard a lot of from our community, is the CEO going to be an experienced and licensed professional? There was a lot of talk last night about trust. If we want to trust this person, we need someone who has knowledge and education. There was some concerns about the law, and I understand that we've ran that through, so that's great. But we want to avoid litigation, as we all know. And then lastly, we can learn from business, but just like any CEO, I'm assuming the CEO of Monument has some experience in healthcare. I'm assuming the CEO of Black Hills Power has some experience in power. So hopefully they have that experience or licensure. But regardless of what we decide to do, communication, as they mentioned last night, is key. I read on the KOTA today, KOTA News, that for now, an interim superintendent will be selected within the next school year. I had not heard that until I read that in the article today. So what is our plan for communicating that? What is the timeline, and how will we know? So I hope that you keep all of those things in mind as you search for our next leader of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jan Mangelson.
Good evening. I was surprised to learn of the presentation from the Falcon 49 district leaders. Despite the fact that I've been attending school board meetings the past 9 months, I was not aware that there was a problem with our current method of school administration. Is this model too autocratic and not a team approach? I know that our superintendent refers to her team and that we already have a business and operations director. Has there been formal complaints regarding this leader, that she has been negligent in her role? Or have we created a possible solution to a non-existent problem? Is it a problem with the method of administration or with this particular superintendent? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Forrest Cooper.
Hello, Board. I attended that presentation last night also and was impressed with the new ideas that were presented. And it seems to me that we've got serious problems in our district. And this is not for lack of effort on all parties involved. Everybody wants us to do a good job, a great job of educating our students. But something is not right when we have financial problems that we have, when we have the achievement scores that are not satisfactory on an overall basis. So if we continue to do the same thing, are we going to get the same results? And the answer to that is yes. So I appreciate the board that in the recent past is looking at new ideas on how to improve things, considering new ideas. Some ideas will be very different than what we have now. At a minimum, we should consider these things. We should encourage some fresh thinking. And if there's some changes, even big changes, that are likely to produce good results, then we should not run in fear of change. We should embrace them and go on. To that end, I have a picture of an ideal school system in Rapid City, and it looks like this. All students are receiving education and support tailored to their needs and abilities. All eligible students in our area are enrolled in RCAS, including those that previously left for various reasons. Teaching staff and administrator positions are 100% filled. Teachers, staff members, and administrators are fairly and competitively compensated. An open and transparent system for employees where all are free to concentrate their talents in producing the best outcomes for our students. Parents and stakeholders are invited to be integral participants in the system. The district is financially sound. This may sound like an impossible dream. My suggestion is, if we don't have something to shoot for that is up in the stars, then likely we're not even going to get close to improving things. So I think it's good to dream, it's good to think, open ideas, new ideas. So I encourage the board to continue what has been started and looking at new ways to solve some of the old problems in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Gross.
Hi. All right. So I spoke to you about 2 months ago about my top 8 or 9 reasons that I was irate, and I haven't been able to come back, so I'm finishing up, taking it off of my mental list. I am irate still. I'm grateful, though, about the groundbreaking at South Middle School. I'm glad to see that we had some sharing of success. But I'm irate, and you can review the board meeting if you wanted to know my top others, but I'm irate that we didn't pass the bond 2 years ago. And we have some major facilities issues that our staff worked so hard on. I've worked in a variety of buildings in Rapid City, and it was in there that 3 of my colleagues one year after a toilet flooded got sick. Now, these were caring professional adults that maintained their life, and the toilet overflooded. It flooded into spaces that were old and needed to be replaced, and they knew that something was wrong in their bodies. They had allergy symptoms, they were in the room all day, and I know that that's happening for students in our district, and they can't talk about it with their parents because they don't know why they feel crummy mid-morning. They don't know why they can't stop sneezing. They don't know why their body just aches a lot. They're just staying home, and their parents might think they're playing hooky, but they're not. And so some of our buildings, they just need to be pushed down, and we need to reinvest, and we have to continue to bring that forward in our community. The land at Vicki Powers Park was purchased when I was 9 years old in 1995. We've been holding on to it, and the board has to take action. So I write, why can't our board members see that the only way to rectify kicking the can down the road is to pass a bond or an opt-out? A lot of our problems need more funding, and the way to do that is a bond or an opt-out. It is not the fault of the children in the classrooms today, and they need adequate schools. Now, additionally to that kind of culminating irate #1 issue, buildings, is the narrative that we are failing. We have magical things happening in our classroom, and I am a cheerleader, but we need a cheerleader. We need a cheerleader from the board president. Last night, I asked a question about why this plan to alternative governance. And looking back at your video, Florence, said, well, because it's an alternative. What we have here isn't really working for our scores, for our customers. We have lost kids, and our scores are not good. We are doing amazing things, and we have to prop up those amazing things. We're finishing COVID. If we think those 1,000 kids aren't going to come back in some way, shape, or form, we're wrong. They are, but they were waiting on a plan. They were dealing with masks. They were dealing with schedules. Now, 2 years after the bond, I'm kind of going back here. The bond failed, and Canyon Lake is a canary in the coal mine. It's the first of many problems to come. As I talked with my nephew, who's an 8th grader, about the additional $20 million for South Middle School, he said, whoa, that's more than the Louisiana purchase. And I had to check, and it's not adjusted, but the Louisiana purchase was like $15 million. So it's a bizarre comparison, but when we're continuing to downplay our schools and to be negative towards the teachers and the staff, I mean, we are doing amazing things, and we have to have a board who champions us. Am I right? And Kate, it's a lot at your op-ed right ahead of the bond. I believe a no is the correct vote because we should take a slower approach and address the immediate needs over a shorter period of time. We voters should demonstrate to our children that it's possible to meet our needs and live within our means. It just takes a little determination and creativity and self-control. I feel like that cost us $20 million.
Hate to cut you off, but that is time.
I think it's important that as you talk with school board candidates, that the way to put students first is not to reorganize the structure, it's to build the buildings that the students are in and put their health and their safety and the staff safety first.
Thank you. Last speaker, Amy Sazu.
Good evening. Hello, board, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a mother of 2 children in the district. I have a daughter at Central, Go Cobblers, and at Knollwood. And I'm a lifelong proponent of public education and accessible and equitable opportunities, educational opportunities for my children and all of our children. With that being said, I would like to say out loud that opportunities are limited here in Rapid City, and my only option, the only accessible option for my family has been the public education system. I'm here tonight because I wanted to share or voice my disappointment and concern in halting strategic planning and the task force that was convened until a new superintendent is hired, especially after attending the meeting last night and seeing that the hiring of a new superintendent isn't clearly the intention of the school board. We're actually looking at ways to not do that. So what does that mean for strategic planning? Strategic planning and identifying the priorities of the district are not the sole responsibility of the superintendent and shouldn't be driven by just one person in one role. It's a process that should be driven by staff, parents, and community, and I would dare to say that we don't have to look very far. We have the answers, the solutions in our own community, in the people that were in those rooms. Our district, our children, who I refuse to call customers, have no time to waste during this transition. And I would just like to thank Dr. Simon for convening such a diverse group of teachers, administrators, parents, and community members to discuss the state of our district and to discuss hope for the future and what they would like to see. We had great conversations in strategic planning, and Dr. Simon did a very good job of bringing people together who had great hopes for all of our children. I'm appreciative of Dr. Simon and the work she has done here. Our district and community are a better place because of her leadership. Her experience, education, and expertise are valued here, and I'm sad to see you go. We're very lucky to have the Lakota Immersion Classroom, and I value your partnership and support in making that happen, and would just like to say in front of everybody, thank you very much, Dr. Simon. I appreciate you. I would also like to share my disappointment in the halting of the Student Needs Task Force. The work around supporting our most at-risk students never stops for those who aren't district employees. The people who support our most at-risk students are continuing that work, whether we talk about solutions or ways that the district can engage in that anyway. And so the district not engaging in these conversations is a detriment to the students who need the most support. I hope that this task force is reconvened soon. Lastly, with all of the resignations on the agenda, I would just like to ask, what are we doing to recruit, retain, and support our certified teachers? We're losing an administrator who loves this community, their job, their school, and the superintendent, but cannot stay here because of the current environment. Our children are the only ones who pay for losses like this, and I would challenge you to look at the needs of our children, of people who have their children enrolled in this district, when you make decisions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. I missed Tanji Weaver, so you will be the last.
Okay. Good evening, Board. I'm actually going to speak about something on your agenda. I was reviewing the handbooks, and this has been a topic pretty much every year. There are certain sections that I want to point out, and I want to make some suggestions when you are considering the final copy. Maybe you would want to take these things into consideration. On page 33, I'm just referring right now to the high school handbook, and this is the part under PPRA, the things that parents receive notice and opportunity to opt out of, and you've heard about this many times before. The item, and we take care to communicate to parents what they must opt their children into and what they can opt their children out of, as far as protected information, surveys, things like that, things that involve their personal integrity. And number 2 on page 33 in the second paragraph, of course, is the any non-emergency invasive physical exam or screening required as condition of attendance, administered by the school or its agent, and is not necessary to protect the immediate health and safety of a student except for hearing, vision, or scoliosis screenings, or any physical exam or screening permitted or required under state law. I know that because of past conversations, that's why there's an asterisk right there, and you do have a footnote that says the written consent of the parent or guardian shall be obtained by the district specifically for the particular examination or screening that is being conducted. I would suggest that at this point, you also include the legal definition in 20 U.S. Code 1232H, and that is the legal definition of what a non-emergency physical, invasive physical exam is, just so parents understand it. Either put it in italics or bold it, but that way parents have all the information. This implies that they should be concerned about that, but it doesn't really say why. With that in mind, I'm also going to suggest that on page 48, what I've described to you already shows that the district cares about notifying parents that they will be contacted when certain things occur. Page 48 deals with searches, lockers, desks, vehicles, storage areas, and other things, but down at the bottom, it also says, underlined, a personal search of a student may be conducted by the principal or designee when he or she has reasonable suspicion to conduct a search of that student or objects or clothing in the student's possession or control. There's no mention of a parent being notified or a responsible adult being present when those things occur. It just occurs to me that students are minors. Even if they're engaging in criminal activity, which I think the school has a right to put a stop to, I think that there should be a pause to try and contact a responsible adult at that point, because minors have rights as well, and I think we should try as best we can to secure those rights and just do it the right way. So those are my suggestions when you get to that point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that does conclude the persons wishing to address the board. We are on to the student representative reports, and Colton Porter, go ahead from Central High School.
Thank you. Good evening, board. For those that don't know me, I'm Colton Porter, and I'm very excited to give you my report of Central High School. Firstly, both students and staff are counting down the days until spring break. I, for one, am taking a trip to Wisconsin to see family. Very excited, leaving Sunday. Moving on, students at Central began standardized testing today. Sophomores took the pre-ACT and juniors began their state SBAC testing. For those wondering, the midterm for quarter 4 will be the 22nd of April. And in other exciting news, prom is Saturday, April 23rd. And Central High School will be hosting a post-prom party featuring laser tag, jousting, a money grab machine, and much more. Tickets for prom are on sale for $20 or $35 for a couple at the Cobbler Activities Office. And the Evening of Excellence banquet is fast approaching. An invite was sent to the top 5% of academically achieving students to participate in this prestigious banquet. Tickets for the spring show Alice in Wonderland will go on sale the week we get back from spring break, so if you are interested, please stop into the Cobbler Activities Office. Central Student Council went to the State Student Council Convention held at the Monument this weekend. And finally, it is both National Library Week and Assistant Principal Week, and so both Central High School and myself would like to give a thank you to our hardworking librarians and assistant principals for all the good they bring to our district. That's all the news I have for you, but I would like to also talk about some big things happening in my school and in our district. And firstly, I want to thank Central and Stevens High School for providing access to the ACT test at no cost to students. The ACT is not only a tool of admissions for colleges, but also a huge factor in scholarship selections. This is a big deal. This provides opportunities for students who before would not be able to take the ACT due to financial difficulties and expand their future opportunities. This truly is an investment into our students' futures, and I thank you all for that. Lastly, tonight I do want to talk about some problems facing Central High School because I believe it would be a disservice to you as the board and to my school if I didn't address the issue. I've spoken to many teachers and staff this year about the conditions they work in and the conditions of the school, and I keep hearing about how many teachers and staff are burnt out. They are exhausted, and I believe this point is further shown by the growing number of teachers in our district who are quitting or retiring. When asked why they feel this burnout, they say that there is no community support. They say there was a paradigm shift, that instead of joint efforts of parents and teachers working together to create better teaching practices and student outcomes, teachers are being met with hostility and resentment from the very community they are trying to grow and serve. This is a highly important issue because teachers are the sole person tasked with teaching me, the 2,000 students that go to Central, and the thousands of other students that go to the RCAS school district. This burnout is a risk to our academic integrity. It is in the best interest of the district, community, and most importantly, us as students, that this problem is rectified. I believe in my heart that this problem can be solved, and I want to leave this great school district better off than when I found it. And so I wanted to bring this to the board's attention. I thank you all for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Abby Rattan from Rapid City High School.
Thank you. This week, learners in all grades at Rapid City High School are completing some form of testing. Monday, all learners completed a brief building-wide math assessment. The data collected from this assessment will help drive PLC work of the staff and help us all reach our school improvement goals. Today, the seniors completed the National Career Readiness Certificate Test. This test includes 3 work key assessments. Those include applied math, graphic literacy, and workplace documents. Tomorrow will be a busy day. The freshmen and sophomores will be completing their second pre-ACT of the school year. Juniors will begin their state Cambium testing, which is better known as a SBAC or Smarter Balance testing. Seniors will have a full day of guided and assigned study hall with freshmen and sophomores joining them in the afternoon. This will be a great time for learners to get ahead of work before spring break. Thursdays, juniors will continue their Cambium testing while the rest of the school returns to a regular schedule. Friday is dedicated to test makeups for those that missed earlier in the week. Calculators are charged, scrap paper is at the ready, and handfuls of number 2 pencils are sharpened. Rapid City High School is ready to achieve great things this week. Rapid City High School houses many wraparound services to support the learners of our districts. I will be taking a moment in my reports to highlight those services from time to time. Last time I was with you, I shared about the YMCA Jumpstart program. Today, I would like to share about the Feeding South Dakota Food Pantry at Rapid City High. Many of you may be familiar with Feeding South Dakota's backpack program. Feeding South Dakota identified that despite the benefits of the backpack program, it does come with limitations. As learners grow, stigma increases and many times needs increase. Eventually, the backpack is not adequate for high school learners. This is why Feeding South Dakota started the School Food Pantry program. It is able to better target this age group and their nutritional needs. The School Food Pantry at Rapid City High provides food for learners and their families. Being located right on the school grounds makes it easy to access food assistance. Additionally, it provides an opportunity to provide perishable foods that the backpack program is unable to distribute, like meat, dairy, bread, eggs, and produce. I would like to publicly thank Feeding South Dakota for all their dedication and support of our families. I also want to thank 2 Rapid City High School paraprofessionals for their dedication to organizing and operating the school food program. Thank you to the Learning Zone team, Joycelyn and Sheila Walker. Rapid City High School personalizes learning to every learner. Part of that personalization is an opportunity to get courses completed ahead of time. Early course completion awards those putting in the extra work and allows more credit attainment. As of this afternoon, Rapid City High School learners have completed 55 courses ahead of the semester deadline. Finally, a quick reminder that Rapid City High School continues its partnership with Hippie Haven on St. Joseph Street in downtown Rapid City to provide free prom dresses. Through April 23rd, any learner from the Black Hills area can visit Hippie Haven to find a free prom dress. Rapid City High School will continue to be a year-round donation site for prom dresses. In closing, I will remind you of our school-wide expectations at Rapid High. Be respectful, be present, be courageous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abby. Hayden Bentz from Stevens High School.
Thank you, President Thomas. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Hayden Bentz, and I'm the student representative to the Board of Education from Stevens High School. I would like to begin tonight by highlighting the Mr. SHS competition that was held this past Friday at the Stevens Gymnasium. It brought together 8 senior boys, myself included, to raise money for Children's Miracle Network. There we competed in various categories, such as Best Dressed, a question and answer session, and I say this in the loosest way possible, talent demonstration, and fitness challenges. A big congratulations to Cade Sobsack, who was awarded the title of Mr. SHS. In total, $2,396 were collected, thanks to the largest crowd ever to attend the event. It was a great success and could not have been possible without the Stevens Student Council, Booster Club, administration, and participants in the event. I would also like to highlight recent happenings in the realm of Stevens athletics. The track team competed over the weekend in a meet at Douglas, with far too many individual accomplishments to mention. The team did very well and is looking forward to their next meet on Friday in Spearfish. Additionally, the boys' tennis team competed this weekend, also giving a strong performance. Lastly, the Stevens baseball team had a doubleheader this past Saturday against Mitchell, where we split against the Colonels. On a more important note, however, the Raiders played Central last Thursday, and I'm sure you can tell where this is headed. Stevens crushed Central, forcing a 10-run mercy rule after 5 innings, leaving the score at 1-11 in favor of the Raiders. Just had to put that in there. In fine arts, the spring musical Into the Woods will premiere this Thursday, running through Saturday. Countless hours of preparation and hard work have gone into making this an unforgettable experience for all who attend. This Thursday, students will have a couple of opportunities for off-campus learning. The first involves a construction career camp put on by the Associated General Contractors of America, where students will be able to learn about the construction industry and everything it has to offer. The second involves a master class offered to AP Physics students, where faculty at the School of Mines will teach about neutrinos, tiny particles that are able to pass through virtually any material, making them extremely hard to detect. Both opportunities are great ways for students to broaden their horizons beyond the simple walls of the classroom. Lastly, the week every Stevens student has been dreading has finally arrived. Testapalooza. Every single student at Stevens High School will be taking a test this week, with freshmen and sophomores taking the pre-ACT, juniors taking the Smarter Balanced Assessment, and seniors taking the National Career Readiness Certificate. Everyone was so excited for this week that Principal Hafner made T-shirts for those administering the tests to wear, and get ready, I have one of them here. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, look at it. Ooh. Ah, ooh. Come on, get into it. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, no, but thank you for... Okay, so the design was chosen by Principal Hafner from a collection of designs entirely created by the students in the graphic design class at Stevens and printed using a screen printer at the school. The spring is always a busy time for students, and this year is no different. Good luck to everyone in whatever activity they may be participating in, and remember, there is nothing greater than being a Raider.
Thank you, Mr. Bentz. All of you did a wonderful job. Thank you. There is no conflict of interest waivers turned in, so we are on to the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Jim and Gabe, does anybody want anything pulled? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, on to first reading. There is none for April. And reports of the superintendent. A, Lakota immersion. I see that Dr. Swank is not here. No. Okay.
No, oh, there it is. I lied. Okay, so tonight I'll do an update on the Lakota language immersion school, the pilot school. Dr. Swank is unable to join us tonight, as is Dr. Saylor. So the Lakota language immersion school is an innovative approach to address learning loss. After reviewing a decrease in academic performance for Native American students shown in local and state assessment data, this was a product of the Indigenous Education Task Force. It was a collaborative effort between tribal, parent, elders, and community listening sessions that we had over the course of 2021. Rapid City Area Schools is unique in that it has 62 tribes represented amongst its student population, and that comprises anywhere between 28 and 30%. This is the largest number of Native American students in any district in South Dakota, and that's on and off the reservation. While there are 62 tribes represented, the majority of those are Lakota tribes comprised of Cheyenne River, Oglala, and Rosebud as the significant tribes. The Lakota language immersion pilot launched. We had tribal elders, people coming from Rosebud, Pine Ridge, which is the Oglala Sioux tribe, and Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. We had community members, elders all come together, and we started it off in a traditional way. We also had parents of the upcoming students come. Some of the key components are the staff. There was a kindergarten teacher and a classroom assistant, and they taught Lakota language immersion in all subjects except the specials rotations, which are PE, computers, music, and those types of classes. And they were provided supports from Valerie Seal's department, the Teaching, Learning, and Innovation, providing weekly supports for staff members there. There's also a grade 3 through 5 Enhanced Lakota who provides coaching, modeling, co-teaching, and all students at the school received OSCU instruction. And he particularly worked with 3 classrooms. And some of the other supports were curriculum mapping and resource acquisition. Some of the successes from year 1, learners are growing their basic vocabulary and common phrases, requests, greetings, etc. Technology integration, having Lakota language-based applications and games. Male and female staff are able to model gender-specific aspects of the language, which is important in our culture as we do have specific things for male and females. Gender endings and such. The sense of classroom community has grown exponentially since the start of the year. And one of the things that you'll hear us talk about is that we talk about kinship a lot and that we treat each other as family, and that's how we treat people that we meet. We treat each other as family members, as we would want others to be treated, and that's one important value for us. Some of the challenges are staffing, turnover during the first third of the year, keeping ahead of curriculum materials needed due to late staffing last year and starting this. We were able to start this school in an extraordinary amount of time. And I think that the amount of materials that are available in print for a language that was primarily an oral language, there's just not a lot of material, so it requires our teachers to be innovative in their approaches and us to be innovative in finding materials for them. And some of the other challenges were the entrance criteria, and we have addressed all of those. A typical day in the kindergarten classroom looks like this. There's classroom activities, both whole group instruction and small group instruction. We do have music, traditional and Lakota music classes. Some of the next steps are a site visit to the Sioux Falls Spanish Immersion School to look at some of the structure there. As we expand, we will be adding a first grade for next year. We will also be transitioning from Canyon Lake to General Beadle School. And Dr. Saylor was here. She wanted me to add that we are nearing 50 applicants and we'll have to have a lottery in early May, so that there are a significant number of applicants for the remaining seats and for our incoming kindergarten classroom. And that the General Beadle staff and families are very excited to host the programs this upcoming year. We will also have extended summer planning, lesson design and materials creation, adding the first grade classroom, completing a registration survey. Both grade levels will likely be completely full next year. Some of the feedback that we have from teacher, parents, communities, and tribal leaders: seeing Lakota language learners advance so rapidly in Lakota does this community good. Congratulations to Rapid City Area Schools. You have done so much to bring the Lakota language and culture forward. We are very appreciative of Rapid City Area Schools and support your efforts on the quest to preserve and save our language for the next generation. And of course, from parents, increased self-esteem, increased IQ. Their reading is advanced compared to their other kindergartners in previous cohorts. Generational healing connects the younger learners with older generations through Lakota language and culture. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have one, but I will open it up to everybody else first. No? Okay. The Sioux Falls site visit for the Spanish immersion, is that just to see kind of how they structure that immersion group, or is that also maybe an idea that may be coming for Rapid City areas schools as well? As far as if the Lakota is working, maybe we might get a Spanish as well. Val?
I knew you were going to do that. I think it's good. I mean, you can hear from parents that share, you know, language acquisition and a second language is really, you know, important at a young age.
Yes, I would agree.
I wouldn't disagree. The original intent really is to see an immersion program that's been up and running and successful for a number of years, but a secondary outcome might be an expansion into a Spanish program. It's, you know, up to the will of the board and our future leader, but certainly we will take good notes and keep it all in mind.
Yeah, so this visit is just for the structure of it and how it's been working, what works and what doesn't? Okay.
Yes, so Dr. Saylor, myself, and Angel will all three attend this site visit and bring back all the good ideas that we come across.
Sounds good. Thank you. I don't think there's any other further questions. Yep, Dr. Simon, go ahead.
Thank you, President Thomas. Very quickly, there's tremendous research, as a few people cited earlier, that links student achievement at very high levels to learning a language, particularly in an immersion school. And if you look at the immersion school research, it's pretty astounding. And so certainly, as you know, we've been in this process of year one of the pilot. I've had parents and staff and community members ask about a potential other language immersion school. Spanish immersion is the one that I most frequently hear about. And so I would recommend definitely that the board and future administration do consider looking at that as an option somewhere down the line.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Simon. As I understand it, we don't have a budget review quite yet. Mr. Sassy, could you tell us when we are going to get that?
Yes, Madam President, and I apologize for the miscommunication. I had my dates jumbled in my head, so our quarter ends, quarter three will end, or has ended 3/31. Typically, it takes us, 2 to 3 weeks to get all the financial reports finalized. So I would probably aim that for first meeting next month.
Okay, great.
And I think that's where my brain got bent a little bit.
It's
so.
fine. Thank
My
you.
apologies to the board.
All right, on to the student handbooks then. Thomas Stewart, can you give us a brief?
Board. Last year we had a pretty robust overhaul of our handbooks where a lot of alignment and everything was taking place. So this year it's quite substantially thinner on our changes that we see proposed. I'll point out some key areas that are of changes. The assessment plan, obviously we've added quite a few new assessments to our plan, so that has a significant change to it. We have, with discussion with several building administrators and other stakeholders, we chose to do some editing on the dress and grooming standards, taking out some of that specific language and allowing administrators to have a little bit more latitude in those dress and grooming standards. We also added the conscious discipline language in the middle and the elementary levels to enhance our PBIS efforts. And then we also, with a lot of collaboration with different stakeholders, the technology loss privilege guidelines to help guide our administrators on what constitutes certain technology loss privileges, as well as a restitution process with when we have certain incidents that cause property damage. Those are the big. Other ones are fairly minor edits and additions from other policies.
Okay, so policies that we've made this year, so up to now.
From last year's adoption to now, yes, like the memorial section that we addressed.
Tonight, we just approved final policies of the grading procedures. Will that be needed to be added to this as well?
I forgot to address that in the high school. Yes, we did.
Okay.
I did address that. I know that there's the credits with the 22 and the 24, which is yet to be finalized. I know that that's out there,
okay,
but I can't address it until that is decided.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then I appreciate any questions from the board. Okay. All right. Thank you. Information item from John Carroll on the YFS Community Innovation Grant. Do you want to comment just a quick what it is? And it looks like you have an information item under that college and career readiness grant too. Yeah, sure, if you want to pull it up. Superintendent report, can we go on to that? And we'll come back to you.
Certainly, just a brief report tonight. Congratulations again to our National Board certified teachers and counselors. You exemplify excellence, and I want you to know I am very proud of you. I also want to give a kudos to our 3 student representatives to the board. You also exemplify excellence, and I am impressed with how seriously you take your roles. You are a shining example of the many great things to be proud of in our school district. I'm looking forward, Hayden, to attending the musical Into the Woods this Thursday with my husband. And finally, I want to wish our students, staff, and families a very nice spring break and a happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. Whenever you're ready.
For this grant, this is a grant for all the counselors in order to, and I have the list of the This is just a list of items that I was told that might be asked. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm sorry, my computer's very slow.
That's all right.
For this, it's based on all the social and emotional learning strategies to help students thrive. This grant comes through. It's only $2,700. It's specifically for the counselors in the elementary schools to help them facilitate this part of the curriculum. And I can go through them if you would like.
No, that's
or
okay.
I can sit them. Okay.
That's a good description. And then, so basically for training for them or to?
It's their supplies and materials.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're very.
Okay.
There's nothing. I mean,
big.
just for an example, something innocuous that, just like a table.
Okay.
A simple table and chairs for counselors to bring students in and have them sit down comfortably and able to have open and honest discussions.
And then the College and Career Readiness Grant?
College and career, I'm sorry, yep.
Thank you, Angelie.
All right, this grant comes from the Office of Indian Education on the federal level, which is the same place that funds the majority of our Indian education initiatives. So this is specifically for career and college readiness for Native American students to increase community involvement efforts that promote the college and career readiness of Indigenous, Native American, American Indian children. So the plan is to have increased efforts and provide staffing for that in order to increase the amount of students that are, one, career ready or have knowledge of careers, two, college ready, and are prepared to get the checklist of things that are needed to enter colleges and be prepared for that successfully. Mr. Carroll and I reviewed the Native American graduation rates, which are really significantly decreased. Do you want to add anything?
Can you, really quickly for the public, tell us how much it is?
How much it is? 500,000 for up to 60 months.
And what will it be?
Annually.
And what will it be spent on?
On staff for career and college readiness, so that would be in counselors or success, graduation coaches, and mentors.
Okay.
Also for events in the community to partner with local universities and colleges in order to get them more college ready and familiar with those types of environments.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? No? We're good. Thank you. Okay, we are going into executive session for SDCL 1-25. Oh, sorry, Dr. Simon, go ahead. Oh, Coy, sorry. Oh, for other?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take a few minutes and update the board on the South Middle School certificate financing transaction. So this particular transaction has moved really, really quickly, and I'll tell you more about why that is here shortly. But if you recall, last month when the board approved going out and taking the $50 million capital outlay certificate transaction, I want to walk you through a little bit about the mechanics of that process, what happens, and what will happen as we move forward. So essentially what the board did in that transaction was approve the district to take those certificates out and enter a relationship with both an underwriter who actually writes the transaction and a placement agent. And that person essentially is responsible for going out and lining up a buyer for the transaction. So the responsibility of those two parties is to complete that transaction as beneficially as possible to the district. I've been in communication with those folks on a weekly basis, sometimes more depending on the questions they have and what's happening. We also went through a credit rating call with Standard & Poor's in which we answered just a ton of questions about the financial condition of the district, and then ultimately they assign the capital outlay obligation a rating, and we have a AA+ rating in Standard & Poor's, the best rating you can get. So that was a a really positive point of this transaction. So really, essentially, those folks are monitoring the rate environment, they're lining up a buyer, and ultimately they're trying to time out the transaction as beneficially as possible to the district. It's moved very quickly, and that is primarily due to the impending Fed rate increase that we will see probably in the next month or 2 months. The rate environment in those situations tends to tick up literally daily in anticipation of that rate increase. So this is truly one of those opportunities where time is really money in terms of the district's total interest payback on that transaction over the course of the repayment period. So as of today, we had a really great call this morning with the company. We think that that transaction is ready to pull the trigger. So I want to run you through this latest run of numbers and talk to you about what the terms will look like. So these were ran as of today. If everything goes well, hopefully we will complete the transaction tomorrow. So I would not expect these numbers to change. The delivery date, or the actual date in which these funds will be deposited into the district's bank account, will be 5/4 of 22, so about a month away. The first coupon date, or the first payment date for the district, will be 2/1 of 23, so February of 23, with the final maturity date being 8/1 of 2041. These are complicated transactions, and there's several ways that you can break down and look at interest. But I think the best indicator of what interest we are actually looking at is called the true interest cost. And basically, it takes not only the interest rate, all the fees being paid, but it also encapsulates what they call the coupon rate, which is getting very complex, but essentially buys down your interest rate. So we're looking at a true interest cost of about 3.27, which is really, really close to what we predicted it to be about a month and a half ago in that initial number run of the transaction. The par amount, which is the actual amount that the district will finance in the transaction, is about $13.9 million. Now, obviously, that's less than the $15 million we talked about we wanted to finance. The reason it's different is because there is actually a premium amount, because of the rating of the bond, that the company who is going to invest will pay the district. So essentially, we are actually taking on less debt, and the actual certificate proceeds that the district will receive will be about $15.2 million. So we're getting a premium amount of about $1.2 million in this transaction. Again, that's because of that AA+ rating. Total net interest paid over the life, if the district were to take it to full term, would be about $5.5 million, to make a total debt service number of about $20.6 million. An average annual debt service of just over $1 million, about $1.07 million. So again, right almost exactly where we had talked about a month ago. So the terms are very, very close. If all goes well in the morning and this transaction gets finalized tomorrow, after all the documents prepared, I will sign what they call the purchase agreement on behalf of the board, which you all gave me authority to do in that transaction from last month. And then my plan would be to bring that back on the April 19th meeting as an info item to the board to, again, review the finalized terms of the transaction. I don't expect anything would change, so it'll probably be a very short conversation, but again, I think it would be good to cover with the board one more time those finalized terms. So that was a really quick update, a lot of information. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have, Madam President.
No questions right now. I have one question. Is the last date, you said August 1st? 2041?
2041, yes, ma'am.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Think you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
now
Board.
we have no other, and we will be going into executive session. I will need a motion in a second for SD CL 125-2.1, 1-25-2.3, and 1-25-2.4.
So moved.
Gabe seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, there will be no further action afterwards. And thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate it. In years past, people never stayed past the public forum. Again, I thank you for all of you coming.